Good afternoon. We begin with breaking news. A man has been arrested after a dramatic police operation in Newtown this afternoon. He was seen jumping across the roofs of cars and houses near Denison and Darley Streets, trying to evade officers. Windscreens of multiple ambulances and cars were smashed when he allegedly crashed into them. The man has now been taken to hospital under police guard. We'll have more details a little later this hour. Sydney Police say they've received dozens of calls a day after blowing the whistle on a Sydney daycare worker charged with hundreds of child sex offences. Police have identified 136 alleged victims after spending a year trawling through the man's phones and computers. But they're still trying to trace another 22 children. Clementine Cuneo has more.
Good afternoon. Well, it's almost been 24 hours since we were able to reveal the identity of a childcare worker charged with more than 300 offences, and investigators say they've been inundated with calls from families of more potential victims. 35-year-old Hamish Tait was arrested by the AFP last year. His identity has been suppressed until yesterday to allow investigators to work through identifying alleged victims and contacting their families. But the AFP requested his identity be revealed so that more potential victims can come forward. Detectives have trawled more than 2 million images identifying 136 alleged victims, but investigators say there are still 22 children they need to identify.
At this stage, the AFP have positively identified 136 victims. There are 22 possible victims that are yet to be identified. We're talking 2.4 million files that have been seized and reviewed by my investigators.
The full list of centres Tait has worked at is available on the AFP website, as well as a portal to make contact with investigators to report any concerns.
4 more people have been arrested over the alleged murder and kidnapping of North Ryde grandfather Chris Baghsarian. Police are now confident they have the main perpetrators behind bars, including the suspected ringleader. Rex Quayle is following developments.
Well, the arrests keep on flowing for this horrific botched kidnapping case of 85-year-old Chris Baghsarian from February. Police announcing they've charged a further 4 men. 32-year-old Alisana Sharf was arrested in a Blacktown parking lot a few weeks after the kidnapping for an unrelated investigation. Methamphetamine and a gun allegedly found in his car, but police already had a strong suspicion he was involved with the case of Baghsarian. An innocent 85-year-old man kidnapped from his North Ryde home on February 13th in a case of mistaken identity, and his body found dumped next to a golf course in Pitt Town. Police believe Sharf coordinated the kidnapping.
What we will say is that he was directly responsible. He attended the address. He physically kidnapped Mr. Baghsarian.
He was rearrested this month in Lithgow, and since then 3 others have been put behind bars as well. A 21-year-old, a 22-year-old and 19-year-old amateur boxer Julius Pula. All of them believed to have helped out in the heinous kidnapping.
We're confident that we've arrested the main persons involved in this offence, but there are a number of people that we believe that may have had knowledge or may have committed some actions after the event.
The kidnapping was ordered by a criminal network overseas that police are still investigating. This is the latest development in a shocking case that's devastated an innocent family.
As you can imagine, they are still devastated at the loss of their father and their grandfather, but they are somewhat comforted by the results.
For the full picture of the developments in this case, join us in the news at 6.
2 people accusing veteran broadcaster Alan Jones of indecent assault have pulled out of his upcoming trial. 4 charges against the 85-year-old have now been withdrawn, taking the total number of alleged victims to 6. He now stands accused of 22 offences, including 2 counts of sexual touching. The trial due to begin next month. A warning to parents this afternoon. Young men are reporting a surge in sextortion cases. Criminal gangs are using artificial intelligence and social media to solicit intimate photos, then blackmail the young victims. Live to Josh Martin in Parliament House. Josh, the E-Safety Commissioner, is calling out on the online platforms.
Afternoon, Chris. Yeah, Julian McGrant says this online sex extortion trend is leading to mental distress and even suicides. In fact, the Victorian coroner is reporting 17 related deaths. The E-Safety Commissioner says sites like Instagram, WhatsApp, Apple iMessage and Snapchat don't have appropriate detection tools or reporting pathways for victims and aren't doing enough to stop criminal actors using AI avatars and voice recordings to con young people to send nude photos and blackmail payments. E-Safety received more than 2,000 complaints about sextortion between July and December last year. Young men aged 18 to 24 are most affected. Another report with the Australian Institute of Criminology finding 1 in 10 adolescents have also been victims. This campaign is now running to spread awareness.
I'll pressure you. I'll tempt you to send a naughty pic. You send it, that's when I switch. Pay me, or everyone sees it.
This is some of the most heinous content and conduct that we see online. And yet, the report has found that big tech is simply not doing enough.
The thing to remember is to collect the evidence if it happens, to not pay because they will keep coming back, block them on every platform, and report to eSafety.
Father Wayne Holdsworth lost his son Mac to sextortion and suicide in 2023. He is now a fierce advocate for reform.
Parents should be having open and honest discussions with their children all the time. God, I wish I had with my boy, because if I had, he'd be here today. It's that important. It really is.
Chris, tomorrow the Prime Minister will deliver a major speech in Sydney on how the government plans to reform AI across all sectors.
All right, Josh Martin live in Canberra, thank you. The price of oil has spiked again today after fresh strikes between the US and Iran. Donald Trump now claiming he will reimpose a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz and wants to charge shipping companies a 20% toll to pass. Here's US correspondent Rob Scott.
For months, senior White House officials, including J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, have rallied against Iran's plans to toll ships in exchange for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, arguing no country should be allowed to tax an international waterway. But in an early morning Truth Social post, Donald Trump appears to have thrown that logic out the window. He says the US will reinstate its blockade of Iran's ports and become what he calls the guardian of the Hormuz Strait. But as such, and as a matter of fairness, will be reimbursed at the rate of 20% on all cargo shipped for any and all costs necessary to do the job of providing safety and security to this very volatile section of the world.
I want to be reimbursed because we're protecting a very rich portion of the world. For instance, you look at the 5 countries, you have Saudi Arabia, you have UAE, you have Qatar, or Qatar as I always say, you have Qatar, Bahrain.